Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're wasting no time and heading straight into the next level, the first full ghost house. Ghost houses are technically just regular levels with a specialized set of enemies. However, there's an optional challenge to collect 10 spider tokens per house. Most of these tokens are either on the critical path or behind quick detours, or sometimes even full-on secrets, but they're typically not very hard to find. Despite there being 3 exits from the first room, there's really only one way that presents progress. The left and right exits will eventually run into dead ends. Also, if you look up above this current room, you can see somewhere we'll be passing through in about 10 minutes. Sadly, we can't engage any of the enemies found up there early. This first path does a pretty good job of showing you places you'll be seeing from other angles later. It makes the house feel more connected and also helps you form a mental map of the place. It also helps a lot if you need to re-enter the level later for various reasons, like say searching for a secret exit. That switch we just flipped unlocks bars on the right side of the first room. Usually the game will play a short cutscene showing you what switches do when it's not immediately obvious. It's not a big deal here, however, because there's only so many places to check for changes. I like this little sewer area that we're entering. The underwater bits coming up aren't great, but the actual underground parts like we're in now are well constructed and actually give the impression of being in the area they're meant to represent. Unlike a lot of other sewer sections in games, it's also just long enough that it doesn't get old. A big part of why I think the skull token hunt isn't terrible is the noise the spiders make when you get near one. It's the skittering noise from the N64 Zeldas. You know the one, I'm sure. If not, just rewind like 10 seconds and I'll listen again. Without that noise to guide you, I think I'd be a lot more down on the collectible hunt than I am. The big coins are, as ever, sneaky as hell, and I love it. Something I do not love, this fire ghost enemy. I mentioned before that there are a lot of enemies in this hack. Most of them I'm neutral on. Only one enemy is all by itself on the top of my least favorite list. This little bastard is too common in ghost houses and is a huge pain in the ass to hit. His attacks are also insanely damaging, and to make matters even worse, when he dies he leaves behind puddles of fire. And if you think back to the Arid fight, I'm sure you can remember why that's also a problem. The left wing of the house is where the rest of the level waits. It's also where we'll start seeing those callbacks I was mentioning earlier. This token in particular can be tricky to get if you don't employ some lateral thinking. Jumping on the scenery is something we've done a few times now, and each time it always feels like something the developer didn't intend. This isn't a bad thing. Even if this isn't the intended method to get the token, it's a nice way to feel clever. Something to watch out for. Jumping on the torch like we did will wake up the nearby boos, and if you turn your back on them for too long, they will charge at you. That's why they're hanging out in midair. Their AI decided the best way to get to Doomguy was up and over the bookshelves. The wall that switch opens will close after just a few seconds, so better move quickly. We can't get to the yellow skull door right now. The switch to open it is pretty well hidden, so just keep it in the back of your mind for much later in the level. This back hallway behind the library, by the way, is where we'd eventually run into a roadblock had we come this way first. Not that I've, done that or anything. There's not very much to say about this middle section of the level. It's not especially boring, the level design is competent, and most of the enemies are alright. The little hand guys can be a pain to hit, but they're also extremely weak, and go down pretty quickly once you can hit them. This little preview of the second coin is a pretty good indication that it's nearby, though the way to get to it isn't a great one in my opinion. This is one of those coins that I had to look up a YouTube walkthrough for because nothing I tried would let me access it. Also, you can see just what I mean about the spiders, for the most part, all being on the critical path through the level. We're not even halfway through the video and we've grabbed 6 already. That little red texture on the ground is supposed to indicate that you need to crouch and walk through. It's simple enough, but it's also still not a great secret in my opinion because it asks you to do something that you may not even know that you can do. Also, that heart mimic I killed, that's the only one in the game. Now we have a nice shortcut back here in case we need to leave or come back or whatever. Very handy. I know I've complained about enemy ambushes before, but Hell Knight ambushes like this one work fine because you aren't being blasted by one of their RNG-laden fireballs as soon as you open the door. Dropping another quick save here because this room always seems to mess me up whenever I play through it. Usually it's the door slamming in my face as I launch a trumpet bust round. Also, if you can stand to look below, we are now directly above that room I pointed out almost 10 minutes ago. And you now also understand why I possibly wanted to engage some of the enemies up here early. Although, thinking about it, I also understand why you can't do that very thing. Being ambushed by 2 fire spirits and 3 additional boos while you're taking on the 4 boos in the lower room would be moderately overwhelming, to say the least. This next series of rooms is a Lost Woods style maze. However, I don't hate this one. Once you catch onto the trick, you can pass through it relatively quickly. And speaking of the trick, I'm not going to mention it straight away. I want to give you all a minute to figure it out for yourselves. It's pretty clever. Those 3 arrows look important. It's not the official way through the maze, but... We'll come back to visit the Yellow Skull door later. It's way over on the far side of the house from where we are right now, and we still have yet to get through the Lost Woods. The trick, by the way, is to go through the doors with decorations. Whatever those decorations are, there are guideposts through this short maze. And yes, in this case, an enemy corpse counts as a decoration. It's why the developer used an immobile enemy. This last part of the level is thankfully pretty short, though we still do have 2 more spiders to find out here. I'm also dropping a quick save here so soon after the checkpoint because fuck the fire spirits. Do you know what I think is an honest shame? No ghost house in this game that I can remember uses the generic Super Mario World ghost house music. It feels like a missed opportunity. While we could chase after that mummy, if you were sharp-eyed you may have noticed a hole in one of the graves. The last big coin is down in there. It's kinda nice that an enemy from Heretic blends in so well with the weird aesthetics that this hack is presenting. Those hand enemies are one that you really have to watch out for. If they back you into a corner, they will damage, like so many other things in this hack, approximately every single game tick. It really feels like the damage intervals on the custom enemies is too low across the board, especially for normal difficulty like we're playing on. The tiny bit of precision platforming we just had to do wasn't terrible. Don't get me wrong, it's not great by any means, but it's only a couple of jumps in a moderately tricky fight, so by the standards of other levels that we've seen, and ones we have yet to see, it's not bad at all. And while this is the end of the level, we're not done here at all. Don't forget that yellow skull door we opened earlier. We still also have the secret exit to find. Although when I put it like that, it's pretty obvious where it is. Being able to do this with booze is not easy, but it's oh so satisfying when you can pull it off. This last bit of platforming is pretty much all that stands between us and the exit, so while I collect some coins and jump over gaps, I want to thank you all for watching. I also want to give some warning about the next video. After The Land with No Name and this Arid Abode, you might have been mistakenly thinking that all the levels in the desert were good. No, that's far from the truth. The next level, Silhouette Sunset, is a strong contender for worst level in the game. May as well get it out of the way early, so I'll see you all next time for that. God help me.